Bubba Scrubba, Culture War Commentary, Volume 4, Episode 8, Marker. Well, this was a relatively tame week in Trumplandia. I guess if you toss out the bond market fiasco. And I mean, what a fiasco it has been. The fact that the national debt just passed $40 trillion. And yet Scott Bessent says, oh, we have more than enough money to go in, buy back our own treasuries en masse in order to try to push down the yields, in order to try to keep the borrowing costs at bay, is laughable at best. Of course, he just went on TV and said that just to, make sure Wall Street, he did his duty to make sure Wall Street goes, oh, okay, well, they're taking care of it. That's all a bunch of horseshit, though. One big dog and pony show, one big Ponzi scheme, it seems like. So, old man Trump came out and they asked him, and they said, well, what weapons do you have at your disposal to combat the bond market yields spiraling, or I shouldn't say spiraling, exploding? And he says, well, I have the single biggest weapon available to anybody on earth, the U.S. military. People take a step back and they go, wait a second. How does using the U.S. military, how is that going to affect the bond market? And it's just another example of Trump, what do they call it, sundowning. I mean, this guy, obviously his mental faculties his brain's turning to mush in real time. And most of his supporters would say, well, everybody, they have Biden, all his gaffes. I mean, I don't know, if you stack it up, gaffe after gaffe after gaffe. First of all, that's a false equivalency. But second of all, I would make an argument that this guy's gaffes are more frequent. They're more astounding. I mean, just the idea, I don't know. I don't understand why he would say we would use the U.S. military. It's akin to saying, oh, well, we're contemplating use of nuclear weapons in Iran in order to end the war. I understand why they would contemplate that, but no sane person. First of all, if that order were given, that's an illegal order. That's grounds for impeachment right there. So, of course, I'm hoping that he doesn't give that order, but part of me hopes he doesn't give the order. Part of me hopes he does give the order, because if he gives the order, then this might actually bring the whole thing to an end game. I don't know. We shall see. Most of us are waiting for this midterm election, and we're praying that this will bring this administration's effectiveness to an end. And then obviously the exit stage right in 2029. But there are many worrying signs that this isn't going to happen. And, first and foremost is all of these grandiose projects that are getting built. Obviously, the ballroom, the military complex ballroom, the helipad, the Qatari Air Force One jet, the Arc de Trump, the reflecting pool, the ongoing reflecting pool renovation, Trump's super PAC that has $500 million in it or something like that, and that he refuses to release any money from to help any Republican candidates in the upcoming election. It makes you wonder, because okay, this guy's the president, right? So obviously he has access to the best lawyers, right? Todd Blanche, only the best, right? But in theory, the best lawyers. And you would think that these people would be advising him that, hey, when you're not president, you don't have access. Your super PAC is not going to be like, oh, this is a blank check, money for you to spend on whatever you want. If you're no longer involved in politics, that you're not actively out campaigning, you're not actively out, and when I say campaigning, I mean campaigning on somebody else's behalf, having your stupid rallies, and which I think would suit him perfectly. Although I don't think physically he's up to the task anymore, but it would suit him perfectly to be out of office. Can't run anymore. His term limits are capped. And so he just goes out on his stupid rallies, on his Qatari Air Force One. Well, it won't be Air Force One anymore, but you know what I mean. And, basically talking shit. Doesn't have to back it up. Can just endorse this candidate or that candidate, play kingmaker, and have no real responsibility to anybody. And, have people just, give you millions of dollars and live off of those donations. And yes, you can do that, but that's not what he wants to do. And so I don't think anybody's told him that these PACs are not going to allow him to keep that money and spend it any way he wants, or that the federal government's going to allow him to keep the Qatari Air Force One jet when he's no longer in office. So he's like, oh yeah, when I leave, it's going to get transferred to my presidential library, which, by the way, won't be built by the time he leaves office, okay? So it's not like they're just going to park it in a hangar next to the Freedom Tower in downtown Miami on Biscayne Bay. It's he thinks that he's going to be able to use that as his private jet. And so it's things like this that you go, wait a second, either this guy's really that stupid or he has no intentions of actually leaving. You couple those facts with his affinity for guys like Putin and Kim Jong-un and, these other military or political strongmen that have been in office for 20 plus years. And this guy, I mean, quite honestly, I think the thing that pisses him off the most about the Biden loss, other than the fact that this guy lost to another guy, is that he really thought that he was going to be like, okay, I'm going to be president for 8 years. And then he thought that this would be his third term that he was in right now. And that losing to Biden screwed up his whole plan. He figured after 8 years, it would be so great in this country that people would turn around and anoint him president for life. And they'd willingly do it. And, set up his whole family for a political dynasty, And I'm pretty sure that's the way he looks at it. And I was reading an article that, it's been so, the whole Vance versus Rubio, who's going to be Trump's preferred guy, and for the long time it was, it's Marco Rubio, of course, he's the respectable one, and he's the one that's really got Trump's ear. Vance got hung out to lunch or hung out to dry, because of Iran. And then now it's swung back the other way, and it's, Vance is the guy now. And Rubio's the one who's been marginalized. I was reading something that it was basically like it's evident that Don Jr.'s going to be the preferred guy, because he really does feel as if that there is nobody else that has the potential to carry on his legacy. Got to have the last name Trump. So, yeah, we need to be very careful about this upcoming election, and then in the next 2 years, and then obviously the next presidential election, about who we elect, and then how this criminal organization, this mafia organization, is held accountable for the crimes that they've committed against the American people. Anyway, I hope everybody's having a good day. Talk to you soon.